Jama, damn it. Jama. You're the first Jama I've ever heard of. I'm
Yeah,
sure you get that a lot,
name.
right?
It is a unique name.
Do you get a lot?
I actually now know 2 others. And there's a actress with my name, too.
I know 2 others, and we're growing. We have a community page on Facebook.
Well, yeah. One of them friended me on Facebook, actually, and
Really?
she's from Texas. Well, I know 2 other ones from Texas. One of them is a guy I knew from college. His cousin has my name. And then another girl from Texas. She doesn't live here, but she friended me. She's like, hey, Jama. I'm like, hey, Jama.
Y'all are building a community.
We are. A community of Jamas.
I guess I have to think like Jamie and then I don't even know if that was Jama.
No, it's Jama.
Jama.
Jame. Okay.
What's your last name, Jama?
Pantel.
Pantel.
It's German. Pantel. I am not German.
Okay. I understand now.
Well, thank you for letting us use your studio.
Thank y'all for being here.
Yeah, it's fun. This is our dream, by the way.
I'm living the dream. That's how I do life. If you're not doing it right, it's not worth living.
What's the name of your photography business?
Jama Pantel Photography.
Yeah. And have you lived in Austin your entire life?
So I was born in Austin. I'm one of those unicorns. My parents met on the drag, actually, and lived here when me and my older brothers were born. But we grew up in South Texas, Chapman Ranch, Texas.
Okay. Where's that at?
South of Corpus. So Mr. Chapman bought a chunk of land off the King Ranch, and my family has farmed it and ranched it.
Oh, wow.
My entire
On
life.
the King Ranch?
They bought it off the King Ranch. So
Okay.
it's the Chapman Ranch now.
Okay.
Is my understanding.
That's cool. So what brought you to Austin?
I was born here. It's the coolest place to be.
Okay, so I'm so confused. I'm so confused. So your family's originally from South Texas?
No.
Where did I get lost? What the hell just happened?
You got to turn around, man.
What the hell?
Texas is a big state. Stick with me here.
Okay.
My mom's from San Antonio. My dad's from Houston. They
Okay.
met in Austin.
Oh, okay.
I was born in Austin.
Okay.
My dad's family lives in South Texas on the Chapman Ranch. So when they started having kids, being closer to family, we grew up in the middle of nowhere on a ranch in South Texas.
Okay.
Where half the town was related to me.
But-
2 of us.
So you've seen Austin start from this
Yes.
like nothing, where it really was like a hippie town,
Yes.
to now what it is crazy.
Yes.
How do you feel about that?
I don't like it. There's too much traffic here.
Yeah, it's unbearable. It's too many people.
Way too many people. Way too many people. Way too crowded. And I used to love the view of the downtown skyline coming in, and now it's unrecognizable.
People moving here, they say it's not that bad. They're like, oh, you're not from New York or California. No, it's not that bad.
Oh, it is that bad.
But don't you hate when people say that?
Yes, I do.
I know Rogan talks about it on his podcast. He's like, these Austin, Texas people, they say traffic's bad. It's not that bad. He's like, but it's all perspective though. He's coming from L.A. where traffic sucks.
Yeah.
They're not comparable. It's way bigger city, but
They don't have the infrastructure for it.
No, not at all.
The city thought, don't build it, they won't come. And clearly that backfired.
Oh, they're coming.
They're coming still, and they still haven't built it, and we'll never build it. It'll always be a cluster.
So how long have you been doing photography?
So I actually have a degree in photography. I'm one of those weirdos. And I graduated college over 20 years ago.
So times have changed.
Yes. So I learned in a dark room shooting manual cameras on film. I learned proper studio posing and lighting and stuff back in the day. And so that is my background.
Where'd you go to school at?
Southwest Texas.
Okay.
Now Texas State.
Yeah, now Texas State, the party school.
In Texas, John.
Yeah.
Southwest Texas.
Not Southwest Texas.
Go Bobcats.
They
beat the UT last night.
That was a
game.
party school, wasn't it? Oh, in baseball? You talking about baseball?
Last night in baseball, they beat UT.
Yeah,
yes.
we were watching.
Number 1 UT.
We were watching that on at Pluckers.
Yep.
The game was on.
Go Bobcats.
You're into them a little bit, huh?
No.
Hate them.
I hate it.
Go Bobcats.
I ran in college as well.
Yeah.
So I do follow the sports if they're any good.
Yeah.
So what's your specialty in photography?
Portrait photography. I am a people photographer.
Yeah.
Yes.
So do you do all your shoots out of your studio here in Austin, or do you go places too?
No, I go places. I go on location. So I do a lot of corporate headshots and business branding and stuff like that. So we will do it at their location, wherever they need to fit their brand.
Yeah.
For standard headshots, any studio will do. I can travel with a studio to do headshots on location for companies. I've done that plenty as well. And then outside, environmental people like that too.
Is there the market's pretty tough, especially in Austin. There's a lot of photographers in Austin, huh?
Yes, there are a lot of photographers everywhere.
Do you feel like threatened by that a little bit?
No, I don't.
No.
It's like it's pretty saturated here. You think
It's saturated everywhere.
Yeah, can you raise your mic up just a little bit?
It's
There you go.
saturated everywhere.
You can move it.
Or you can
There we
lower
go.
it down too if you want to.
Like that.
Yeah.
Now I need
Do
to
what you need to
Yeah,
do for the
yeah.
long run.
Yeah. Just get comfortable.
Yeah, by holding a stand.
I know. Let me hold the stand for the next hour. That's really comfortable.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we're not used to it either, but we're gonna have to get used to
Get
it.
used to it real quick. So you've been doing it since college.
Pretty much.
What made you want to get into it?
So, my grandmother on the ranch in Chapman Ranch used to show me pictures all the time. Their family's well documented. So, looking at pictures from the 1900s or all the way up, and just the stories they tell. We lost my grandmother my senior year of high school at 65. When she was laid to rest, she had my family portrait with her. And so I carried on the legacy. My business is a tribute to her, just taking pictures and documenting my family continually, and then other people's families as well, because I know how important pictures are. And so my grandmother had a portrait of herself at the house from when I think she was 16 in this portrait. And I loved that portrait as a kid. So it's my most prized possession today. And so all of my individual beauty clients, portraits, ladies that come to me for a project I've been working on the last couple of years, get a portrait, and I want that to be their legacy portrait for them to pass it down for generations and stuff like that, so people remember them and their story and stuff.
You can almost, I mean, you're selling me right now. I'm like, if you think people think about things differently, and for you to describe it that way, like you're documenting your history, family history, whatever. That's kind of a beautiful way to look at it. And it shows like the passion that you have for it as well. And we've seen some of your pictures over there. They're like remarkable.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
They look real. It looks like you know what you're doing.
So sometimes you wing it.
I assume you like the more creative. Like we've seen, you had a couple of clients like wrapped up in this shape.
No.
You don't like those. You like more formal pictures, or
No,
This podcast episode is brought to you by BCN Supplements. Mike and I have teamed up with BCN, and we're so excited about it. Now, if you're new to the fitness world or you're just starting to get in, BCN has legitimately everything you're looking for. Whether you want healthier hair, skin, nails, if you want to get a good pre-workout drink, or if you want a vitamin, BCN has what you need. One of their products I love is their collagen mix. It's legitimately so easy to use. I know what you're thinking, why is a guy taking collagen? But it helps with everything. Muscle recovery, muscle mass. It helps with your hair, skin elasticity, and you can take it with anything. You can put it in water. You can put it in pancake mix. I take protein pancake mix, so I like to use it in that. Or you can put it in coffee if you're on the go. Just one scoop is all you need, and you're going to help your hair, your skin, muscle mass, your joints, everything. Head to bcnsubs.com to place your order today, and be sure to use CWJM to receive a whopping 10% off your next purchase. And be sure to check them out on Instagram at BCN Supplements. BCN Supplements, helping build a better you from the inside out.
Depends on the client, I guess.
Yeah.
So, my take on the photography industry, anybody can be a candid photographer. They don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
It takes knowing how to pose people to break the rules, in my opinion. 9 times out of 10 people are not comfortable in front of the camera. I'm not comfortable in front of the camera.
You're doing a good job.
So you have to know how to talk to them and work it and stuff like that. And if you can't distract them from being in their own head, they're not going to get something they like, which is why the candid photography does so well, until you get a person who knows what they're doing.
You said something like everyone, the apps that we have on our phones' ability to take pictures these days, it's getting crazy. And then you can put filters on them on the fly. Everyone, the Instagram, everyone's almost a photographer.
Yes.
So, but you're right. Like there's a certain art to it, and there's the lighting that no one really thinks about. So a lot goes into it. Positioning of the body.
Yes.
All that good stuff.
Angling, lighting, posing, that kind of stuff all plays into it. The problem with everybody taking pictures on their phone, technology changes, your phone dies, you're not going to have those pictures anymore. That's why having a legacy portrait in print is so important to me, and that's why things get printed when you come to me.
Yeah.
Because we are the most photographed time in the history of the world, and nobody's printing them, and they're losing them. And then they are like, I don't have these anymore. What do I do? I'm like, I told you. I warned you. Print what you love. If you don't, you're going to lose it.
That's an interesting thought, because when I go back to my parents' house, it's always a fun thing to go through the cabinet and look at the old photos.
Yep.
That's like, and I do it every time,
yep.
But it's fun to look at. But now no one's doing that.
Nope.
At all. It's I'll snap it, I'll put it on the phone. You change phones, so then you don't have a copy of that phone, and you just take it again, and it's a lost memory.
It's a lost memory.
Yeah.
And to me, those are no good.
Oh man, that's
having
scary.
a memory and being able to tell a story is how you're going to be remembered.
It's scary too, the cloud. Like, that's kind of where it's all going. You just put everything in the cloud, and then you pay for the cloud. And the moment you don't pay for the cloud, they have all your pictures, and they're like, all right, well, make your payment, and we'll give you your memories back.
In college, when I was taking pictures, they would store them on the floppy drives, slide film, scanning film, negatives, and stuff like that. Things just keep changing. So if you don't have them printed, you're not going to have access to them.
Yeah.
Wow.
The way technology is changing, too, with cameras. Is it hard to keep up with from where you started to now, where it's almost, I feel like I don't know. It's like you don't have to be a good photographer with all the
correct. Yes, you do not have to be a good photographer. As a matter of fact, there aren't that many good photographers, in my opinion. There's a lot of good artists. They know how to manipulate on the back end. There's filters and everything else, and I also think that gives a distorted view of that and has caused a lot of issues as well.
That's a whole nother thing. Are those two different genres? Like, shooting them in camera and getting a good in camera shot, opposed to getting a good enough shot and bringing it into like Photoshop, the Adobe products? Like,
yes.
Are there like how would you say, like purist?
Guilty.
So do you not bring your photos in Photoshop?
Oh, I bring them into Photoshop. You see my background here. Obviously, you have to Photoshop bars out and things like that, get scratches off the ground, clean up wrinkles, stuff like that. So, things get taken into Photoshop. But if you properly light and pose, I tend to sell images immediately after taking them. I don't edit them. And people are, how'd you make me lose 100 pounds like that? And I was like, posing and lighting. And so I can go into Photoshop and digitally manipulate a person's body, which is the art side of it. Or you can pose them properly and not need to do that in Photoshop.
Wow.
Lighting plays a big part in that too. So I'm working on a project, 40 over 40 portrait experience, and it's 40 ladies over the age of 40. And so many of them are like, where'd my wrinkles go? You Photoshop too much. I was like, it's called lighting. Yeah. And so if you do beauty lighting on them and fill in the wrinkles and stuff, they disappear. So I've done like video tutorials showing people, I was like, here I am with cross lighting and it shows all the wrinkles and everything else. Here I am with directional lighting and it fills it all in. It's like, oh, that makes sense now. So if you show them, it makes sense. But
so that's called beauty lighting.
Yeah, beauty lighting. Yeah,
that's the lost art too.
Yeah.
Is that's what you did before. Now you can do it all in post.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Oh yeah, I can go in there and like make myself unwrinkled, no gray hairs, everything else.
Yeah.
Or I could light myself properly and save myself time in Photoshop. I don't enjoy Photoshop. I am a purist. I like to get it right in camera.
Yeah.
Of course, you need to Photoshop every once in a while, especially with extended families and you have a bunch of children and they're not always looking at the same time. And so then you do head swaps.
Yep. That's what I was going to mention. Like, you have a really good shoot, but then the rain comes or the sun's not quite going your way, cloud coverage and stuff, and you could swap those heads, man. It's I think photographers get a little cocky about that too. Like,
yes.
I know one. There's like, no problem. I'll swap those heads, swap this arm, take 20 pounds off here, and it's like it's a good tool to have when you need it.
Yes.
But yeah, if you can get it in camera, like when we shoot the podcast, we try to get it right the first time, so it's minimal color grading and stuff. Yeah,
that's what I try to do as well. But awesome. That's because in the film day, that's all you could do. There wasn't a way to shave 30 pounds off a person in the darkroom.
We have some photographers around our area that we see, and it gets artsy fartsy a little too much.
Yeah.
and it doesn't. It's like not even real photography. It's almost like a painting at that point.
Correct.
And it's like, is that really a picture or is it a painting? What does it really look like?
It turns into art, like she was saying.
Yeah.
It turns into like digital art.
Digital art. And so there's a fine line. Like, personally, as a photographer, I don't want to put something out there and confuse people. And there are photographers that way. Like, this is a series of 10 images stacked on each other. And this is mostly for like landscape photography and stuff like that. Versus I'll take a picture of the Milky Way and get it in one shot. Some of them take a picture and get it in 20 shots and combine it and do all that. Like, that's a little over my head. I like getting things in one shot as is to show you.
Yeah.
We've talked about this before. We're kind of jumping a little bit, but have you gotten to the NFT game at all?
No, I still don't understand what NFT is.
Oh, God, you'd kill it with your headshots.
How?
I act like I know what I'm talking about.
He reads a lot. He kind of knows. But
all right, you're my agent.
So,
you're
and
hired.
I'm telling my brother to get into it with his paintings.
Oh, yeah.
But NFTs.
But that's art, right? Like,
well,
can you do that with a person?
So are your photos, though.
I don't want to turn a person into like.
Okay, so let's go down the rabbit hole. Yeah. Have you taken pictures for a magazine or anything like that that's been in a magazine, like one, or in a newspaper or something that's been?
I've been published in the New York Times for my Bluebonnet pictures.
Okay, so that's a perfect. Everyone who has a copy of that in the New York Times, everyone has a fake copy. But let's say you put that in an NFT, a non-fungible token.
Is that what it stands for?
Yeah, non-fungible.
Kind of weird, right?
Non-fungible token.
Okay.
You could sell that, and what drives people to be crazy about it is that everyone owns that, or if you sell it, the person who buys it owns that the real original copy. So it gets hairy.
As a photographer, you never want to give up copyright and the real original file.
You don't. So that's where it gets hairy too. So like musical artists, they're selling songs like their like an MP3 of their song, but they actually don't own the rights to the song. They just own that copy on NFT in NFT land. So it's all about ownership.
Cards, like
so when I buy Bitcoin, do you use Bitcoin to pay for this? All this fake reality world?
The biggest one is Ethereum. That's like Bitcoin, I guess. But there's Bitcoin, there's Ethereum. But that's the biggest one. But I read an article where things are going too good in America. So when things are going good, people just want to own stuff, and this is just that other channel. Like, you could sell your photos, or I'm telling Josh to sell his paintings, and then you could build up crap, Jama put out this photo, I want to own that piece of it.
It's a flex. Like, I have version 2 of Jama's picture.
Well, according to my dad, everybody should own a Jama, so I'm liking the sound of this.
So
that's pretty good.
Have you been keeping up with like the Metaverse and all that good stuff?
No, I keep up with nothing.
Okay, so
I'm old school.
what's happening is, or the talk is, when you buy stuff in NFT land, then when you go to the Metaverse, you can display what you own in your house on it. Like
family photos and stuff like that.
Yeah. And so people going in Metaverse land can go to Jama's house or Jama's photography studio and be like, oh, wow, like she has this picture, and you could sell it. Or if you own an MP3, you can have the MP3 playing, the song playing outside of your house, and people can go play it. And hey, I want to buy that. That's the flex. Like,
okay,
look how much.
I need an agent. I don't know. I don't understand any of this still.
It's blowing. Like, people are getting.
I know it is. I obviously have heard about it, but I don't know what it is.
We want to get into it somehow.
Don't worry, I don't either.
Okay, I'm not alone.
But so
you're hired.
So
my agent.
Done. I quit my job today. Yeah. So you've had your photography published in the New York Times.
Correct.
How'd you do that?
Very carefully. No.
She didn't tell it.
She's like, gunpoint.
I'm from Texas. In case you couldn't tell, I've got on Texas tennis shoes.
Brooks, baby.
That's right. So I am a loud and proud Texan, and I love bluebonnets, which is our state flower, if you didn't know. And so I have been stocking bluebonnets for many, many years, taking pictures of them. I even have some bluebonnets where I thought I had color film in my camera, but I had black and white. Wow. So I have some black and white bluebonnets from way, way, way back in the day. And so I usually just on my social media post bluebonnet pictures. And I posted one year, and somebody reached out, made a comment on it, and I ignored them because you get a lot of spam comments on social media.
Was this Facebook or Instagram?
It was Instagram.
Okay.
It was Instagram, and I kind of ignored it. And then I mentioned in passing to my little sister, who's a scientist, Dr. Pantel. I got this comment on there, and she's like, oh, that's an actual reporter for the New York Times, the science division. It's called the trilobites, whatever, blah, blah, blah. She's a scientist. She knew all this. I was like, oh, so I should reach out to them.
Gosh.
So I reached out. They ended up purchasing 2 images and interviewing me for an article. And so I was in print in the New York Times and online in the New York Times in the science section for my Bluebonnet pictures.
In the science section, huh?
Yes, because it was about that year that it was published. I think it was 5 years ago now. They were coming early. So they started sprouting in February. This year, with all the cold and stuff like that, they haven't popped up in the normal spots yet, but that year they started popping up early. And so they were doing an article on bluebonnet spring early in Texas this year. And I think it was in relation to like maybe global warming. I don't know, something like that.
Oh, now I see what it's like. Okay.
Yeah.
Now I see how it ties in.
Yeah.
The big question, have you ever picked a bluebonnet?
No.
You're not supposed to, dude.
You're not supposed to. It's against the law.
That's why I'm asking.
You're trying to get her on camera.
So we'll turn the camera off and we'll figure out if you
It's
picked one
technically
yet.
not against the law.
Oh, I thought it was.
No, it's not. But that's what they tell you as a kid in Texas to make you believe, so
Damn
you don't
it.
pick them.
My damn
So
mom.
as a photographer, as a portrait photographer, I take it very seriously when I post clients in the bluebonnets. I refuse to let them crush the bluebonnets. If they don't seed properly, they die and they won't replant the next year. And so I've got a whole blog post on it, which is very popular to this day. It gets me all my hits and stuff on how to pose and angle properly, where you sit them in a dead spot, because there's naturally dead spots in any field of anything. So you sit them in a dead spot so they don't smush anything, and angle it the right way.
Yeah.
Again, angle and lighting to make it look like they're surrounded by bluebonnets, when in actuality they're not even sitting in them and stuff like that. So I take my bluebonnets very seriously.
Tricky.
And I don't want them to be, and I get sad when I see people laying on them and crushing them. That's not the proper way. That's not what you get when you work with me. You get things done the right way.
Is it a conspiracy theory about the snake bites, like in Texas?
No.
That's a real thing.
It is a real thing. I mean, there's snakes everywhere. It's Texas, right?
Like I hear, like that's the most that time of year is the most snake bites because people are going to take photos in bluebonnets.
There are professional photographers out there who have their clients meet them on the side of the road, and I cringe when I hear that. Like, no, that's not safe. That's not okay. That's not the professional way to do things. If you spent a little bit of time, you can find safe spots to do it. And so there are a lot of parks around town and stuff like that are manicured parks. You don't have as heavy traffic with the snakes and stuff like that because they're so heavily trafficked with people and pets. So you still look anytime you're in anything. There's bees. They're pollinating. There's ants. I mean, we're Texas. We got fire ants, right? So I would never put somebody in a space that I hadn't checked out first. I would never put somebody on the side of the road. But when you get these big open fields of them that's where you encounter snakes and everything else. Yeah. I'm a country girl. Like I grew up like checking for rattlesnakes everywhere I went. Like I had to. So in my mind, that's always there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bluebonnets are pretty, man. It doesn't take much to make them, look good. I pulled over guiltily on the side of the road and got like a full frame shot of them. Just go real close and put it in like portrait mode, and it's just like
I don't mind putting myself in danger that way. I would never put clients in danger that way, but I've pulled over on the side of the road plenty to get a shot, but I would never put clients in that. Like if a random car takes me out, that's I won't sue myself.
You sure? You sure?
I'd be dead. I couldn't.
I'd be dead.
Gone.
She's quick, man.
Yeah, she is.
She's quick. So that's like a popular photo shoot. What are some other popular photo shoots you enjoy doing? You got the famous like railroad track or like the long road. Some of these are cringy too.
Against the law.
What's against the law?
The railroad tracks. Even if they're decommissioned, you're not supposed to put people on railroad tracks.
Really?
So you don't break the rules at all?
No. Why would I?
I didn't know
believe
that.
No.
That's so popular where we're at in the Gulf Coast. That's like a go-to. Yeah.
I know. It's a thing. It is against the law. It
Holy
is. You
cow.
shouldn't do it. Do you know how many professional photographers have lost their lives or their clients' lives doing that over the years?
No, I hadn't heard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Jeez, they were just in it. So they were paying attention so much that they didn't realize the train was coming.
Yeah.
I did not hear that though.
Have you seen Stand By Me?
Yes.
They risked it all.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it.
You didn't watch that.
And the whole getting a selfie with everything has caused deaths because people are trying to get the incredible selfies, or professional photographers hiking their clients out to locations and stuff like that and falling off a cliff into a waterfall.
No way.
Because I mean, and if you Google this, you'll find these stories, but it happens. I do not put my clients' lives in danger. Just not something I do.
What's the craziest one you've heard?
I mean, I guess falling off a
cliff.
Oh, cliff, yeah.
You seen the pictures where like the husband will hold the wife over, on like the trust? It's like, I trust you, this much with my life, and he's holding her over a rock. Have you seen it? A ledge?
Are they normally fake though? Like they're standing on
some are fake, but I've seen ones that are real.
I'll totally fake pose my feet over ledges and stuff like that, but I would never, ever, ever take a client and put him in that situation. There's a popular spot in town here, overlooks the Pennybacker Bridge out on 360, and people fall off there.
Is that the spot where everyone takes a picture of? And
with the bridge below.
We should go by there
like
today.
That.
I take a picture.
You should. Just don't get too close to the edge. You might fall off. But I mean, at least once a year, somebody falls off.
The situation is like they stage them, they take picture, like move back a little bit, and they just. How terrible
it is terrible. And I'm guilty of being behind the camera and like stepping into things and onto things and putting myself in that situation. But I would never, ever put a client in that situation. Yeah. Like I said, if it's me and I do it to myself, that's one thing. I would never do that to another person. Like I just couldn't live with myself if I did. So, but I've like stepped into things. Like I get cactus needles in myself more times than I care to count for trying to get close to a cactus to take a picture.
Those are tough too.
I know.
Especially the little ones. Like the
oh my gosh, yeah.
You never get them out.
You can't.
Like.
Oh yeah, I was out running in the cold last year with this cold snap, and I had my phone on me, and I was like, oh cool, there's icicles hanging off the cactus thing. So I'm getting in closer and closer and closer, and then I had like 10 cactus needles in the side of my shoe, and one of them hit a vein, and I'm dripping blood, and so here I'm like, take my hands out of my gloves to like get these cactus needles out so I can get back home before I freeze to death.
Oh my gosh.
I'm extreme like that.
What's your favorite? This spot is so beautiful. The bridges, Zilker Park, downtown Austin. What's your favorite spot besides your studio to take pictures in?
The studio. It's temperature controlled in here. Yeah. If it's rainy outside, it's nice and dry in here. If it's hot outside, it's nice and cool in here.
She's got a good point.
But the popular spots, so I do high school seniors. I've got a couple coming up. One of them's a baseball player. So clearly we're going to a park closer to Round Rock is where he lives. So we're going to a park up in that area that has baseball fields and stuff like that, and then nature and stuff around it. So you always... It's not my favorite. It's what the clients want. So you talk to your clients, you get to know what they want, whatnot. And I've got another senior coming up as well who she wants like a downtown, urban vibe and stuff like that. So we're going down to the old power plant there on South, the new library and stuff in that area, the Seaholm Power Plant District or whatever.
Yeah.
They built up into, and now it's just a popular spot. It's got the urban look, downtown's right there and everything else. Right across the bridge is the Butler Park that has the great views of downtown and everything else. South Congress is a popular spot as well for the urban look and everything else. And so I always preface this, are you okay with people staring at you? Because if we're out there doing pictures, these are busy spots and people are going to stop. They're going to make comments. They're going to, so if you're not okay with that, wake up early and get in before the people get there. Yeah. If you are okay with that, then we can go in the evening. Like senior kids like to sleep in, right?
Isn't that funny? People stop and it's just when someone's carrying we were doing a commercial in the gym and Mike had the camera. And it was like Mike was an alien or something. Everyone's just like, what's going on?
Yeah. It is abnormal. But we did a shoot like right by a busy street in one of these small towns we live in. And we were shooting a commercial for the city. And everybody would kind of, we were trying to avoid the car. So we're like doing the whole hockey thing, like car and like, we're like, let them go. And we didn't want that to get in the audio and stuff like that. So this lady like started like pulling up and she was like, can I park here? And I was like, are you coming to this house? And she goes, I mean, I just want to know if I can park. And I was like, yeah, but where are you going? And she's like, just, what are y'all doing? Just come down to like, she was just really
curious.
A little nosy, wants to know. Yeah. So we're like, get out of here, Greg.
Yeah. Now you walk around. I mean, I walk around with a camera and a giant lens and people, are you a photographer? Nah, I just carry this for fun.
Yeah. Here's your sign.
I just carry it for fun. I enjoy it just to look cool.
That's funny.
So that's same thing. I'm like, no, I'm not.
Have you ever thought about getting into, with like OnlyFans these days and the girls taking like the boudoir shoots? Have you ever done anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they use it for OnlyFans or not, but I have photographed boudoir. I don't have it anywhere out there. But yeah, women who come to me.
That's so big now, right?
It is. It is a very, very big industry. Yeah. But a lot of people who do it don't want those pictures blasted out there. Yeah. And I recognize that I own the copyrights and I can do whatever I want with people's pictures. I respect my clients way too much to put anything out there that they're not comfortable
She has her own website where she
sneak peeks.
Jama sneak peeks.
They don't know.
Yeah. Jama's they don't know.
What they don't know don't hurt them.
That's right. How do you think you get business?
Jeez.
Get the water.
Yeah, get the water.
Yeah, get the water.
Do you feel completely comfortable with that kind of stuff? Like, would you go to all the extremes of that, like with guys and stuff like that? Or
no,
no,
I wouldn't.
So
no.
Art's not like. Do you consider it art like at that point, like not with guys, but like boudoir and things like that?
So, my personal opinion on it, as a female in this world, there's way too many creepy men out there.
Yeah.
Been there, done that. And so if a man approached me with that, I'm not comfortable in that situation, and I wouldn't put myself in that situation.
There's a lot of those situations where the guys do the boudoir,
yes.
and that's a common like trap.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I didn't know that.
We were talking with one of our guests about it, and it's like
the guys do it or take the photos.
They're the photographers taking pictures of the women and stuff like that, and I would be uncomfortable with that. I wouldn't put myself in that situation. No.
Yeah, you got to get to know a person or whatever. I'm sure there's some good ones out there that are trustworthy. Definitely. But that's a red flag in this society.
It is. You have to, and the way I do my business too, I meet with my clients for planning sessions prior to actually doing the pictures, so we know each other and there's a comfort level there. Again, I'm not comfortable in front of the camera. In the course of my business, obviously need pictures of myself, and I've hired other photographers, and I try to, okay, so what are we doing and stuff like that, and you hear nothing from them. You show up the day of the shoot, okay, go. How do I know what I'm supposed to do? Isn't it your job to advise me? And most photographers out there don't. I don't like that, so I do things differently where I get to know them. It's not what I want. It's what you want. What do you want out of this? What are you looking to get out of this? Like, it's all about you. I get being awkward in front of the camera, so I want to put you at ease. I want you to know me. I want you to be comfortable on the day of the session and stuff like that. So let's get to know each other. Let's get what you want out of it and get all that squared away.
It's a good time for a photographer right now. America has made all of these photo worthy opportunities now. Like you know, of course, the ones we always know, like, you know, getting married, birthdays, but now you have like gender reveals and like showers, grandma showers. You've got there's got photo shoots where you have some older ladies that would like to look pretty again. You know, like they want to get together as a group and just have a photo shoot and, you know, look pretty and things like that. So. How many other opportunities have you heard that are just kind of against the norm?
I mean, anything and everything you can think of. I mean, I've seen out in the course of just taking pictures and stuff like that, you see people holding like the 40, like for 40th birthday balloons for theirs. And you know, I didn't get a cake smash as a 1-year-old. I want to do it as an adult. I mean, everything, like everything. It's everything these days is worthy of documenting. I personally don't do a lot of that stuff.
Your personal approach to it, though, that's probably what separates you from other photographers that just want to get it on the schedule, meet them somewhere, and then take the photo. You know, people don't take that time to get to know someone and get to really know what they truly want because, excuse me, they're probably uncomfortable telling you the day of the shoot. So breaking that ice at first.
Yeah. I think it takes a skill to be able to get people comfortable enough to do that. Yeah. I mean, I've had entire sessions of myself when I don't like any of them because I know how uncomfortable I am, and I never want that for my clients.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you have any stories of like you bringing a client that's insecure and never really did this thing and didn't feel beautiful, and then you take these amazing pictures and give it to them and they just break down in
all
tears?
The time.
Yeah. How does that feel? Is that like something?
I usually end up crying too.
Because you're heavily involved in the process. I mean, you're positioning and she's trusted. It's a vulnerable state. At its purest level, photography is vulnerable. It's like you're trusting a person you hardly know, and you're going to be in these positions and trust them, and then give this product, and you're scared. I don't know. There's a lot going on.
No, that's 9 times out of 10 what it is for me. Yeah, absolutely.
That feels so good. You know.
It does.
I'll do that for them.
It does. It makes my heart happy knowing that they have something that made them feel that way. as a woman in this world. It's hard to feel confident a lot of times. Personally, as a kid, I was loved. My family loved me. They supported me in every step. I was invincible as a child. I moved away from home, and the rest of the world starts getting in your ears, and it makes it hard for you. Y'all asked earlier, I'm 44 years old. I was raised in an era of women are quiet. My grandmother, who my business is based after, as a child, and I still hear her voice in my head, a proper lady should, a proper lady should. And I have lived my life around that. But then my great-grandmother, her mom, who was like living it up in the roaring 20s and stuff like that, which is probably why my grandma was such a goody-goody.
Living it up in the 20s.
Because my great-grandma liked to
moonshine.
have fun. Oh, yeah. Liked to have fun. And we had her, I was out of college when she passed away, so I had her for a long time in my life and got a lot of those stories too. And so I've got the devil and, and the angel on each shoulder and stuff like that. But when you grew up and got out in the real world, and those voices start getting in your head, you start downing yourself. And so many women, for guys, most of them are or act confident. I don't think they really are, but act confident. And for women, they don't, and they don't see themselves a certain way and everything else. The picture is not about the external beauty, it's everything inside, and I want that picture to tell that story, not just what you see on the outside, but what's on the inside. And the majority of people are good people, and I want them to feel good about themselves because they are good. If they weren't good people, I wouldn't work with them.
Jeez.
That's honest though.
Before your question, I've never heard someone saying they were living it up in the 20s, man.
You never heard? In the 20s, man.
The 20s were hot. You don't know about the 20s.
My great grandma had 3 kids, all from different men.
What? Hell yeah. That's today now, right? Dude?
Yeah, it
coming
is.
back. The 20s are coming back, man.
It is, but the stories they would tell. Going to Vegas, hanging with Rat Pack, all that stuff like that. Like these are the stories I grew up listening to from them. Absolutely.
I feel like Austin's very accepting to the new ideology of women being equal to men. Are you seeing that here?
No.
Not at all?
No.
Really?
Yeah.
What?
Is that just a farce?
They tell you that.
Yeah.
But in practice, they don't believe that.
Man.
No.
So what
do you see?
Yeah.
Women getting shut down left and right, even by people who claim they support women.
You think it's because it's just like that older generation still, or do you think it's like I feel like the generation like Mike and I don't know. I genuinely don't know anybody that thinks that way.
Yeah,
the generation above us.
Them.
Definitely so, right?
Yeah, definitely.
But they're dying off though, right? They're getting out of here.
Not fast enough. Just kidding.
They're croaking out left and right.
Yeah, yes. So as I mentioned to y'all, I have a background in politics and Texas politics, and I started working at the Texas Capitol, 20 plus years ago. And so that was a lot of the world that I was surrounded by that ruined a lot of things and confidence for me, being told I would never get anywhere if I didn't drink with you and and all of this stuff by older people, older men, and so that took a toll on my self-worth and self-esteem and everything else, and it took me getting older to be able to speak up and fight back and everything else.
That's great.
So
how do you feel about the political state of Texas and Central Austin? You're in the hub of it, and your background's in politics, so you've seen it change from being a conservative Austin to be the more liberal based Austin. What do you see? Because things are, reading the news, things look bad in Austin. No one wants to be a cop. There's murder rate is up. Everything looks bad from the outside looking in, and I think a lot of it is due to politicians, right? That's
policies and stuff like that. Yeah.
Do you see it getting better, like especially with more of the California type folks moving in, bringing in those types of?
I think it's got worse here personally.
Yeah.
So in 2019, I was running downtown by myself, like I always do, at broad daylight, high noon. A homeless man ran at me.
Gosh.
There were 2 guys running behind me, not with me, who saw him coming and hollered at him and scared him, and so he stopped in his tracks and turned around. And then turned back around and charged me. And they both jumped in front of me. We told you to leave her alone, and they escorted me down to the lake where we were going to go run and stuff like that. And it was the last time I ran downtown.
Did that make the news?
No, of course not.
Okay, there was a woman.
There were other attacks and stuff like that.
that did
Yes,
make the
and
news.
so
By
again,
only homeless people or
Yes.
other people? Okay.
homeless people. And then I'm in Northwest Austin. There was also around that same time a man attacking women runners out here. I told you guys I never ran with my phone. I never ran with anything. I've been running for over 30 years. Like I enjoy running. Never ran with anything, and that changed the times I ran, and what I did and my activities, my actions and stuff like that. So I have had multiple homeless encounters downtown, and then that encounter up in Northwest Austin and I think Cedar Park, there were multiple attacks and they never caught that guy. But there was one morning, early morning, where I went out running pre-dawn. It was still dark outside. It was winter, but it was a very warm winter day. And so I was in, tank top and shorts, and I saw a shadowy figure off in the distance on my run, hoodie, and I got this feeling in my gut, and I turned around and I ran back inside and locked the doors, and has changed my. Now I sit there and wait for enough light to feel safe to go running and stuff like that.
That's so. Is that the? Do you like as an Austinite? Is that probably the biggest opportunity we have in Austin? Is the homeless? I mean, there's traffic and all that stuff too, but I mean, like to feeling safe.
To feeling safe.
Yeah. I listened to some news stations here in Austin, and listening to caller after caller. It's like the homeless is probably the number one opportunity here in Austin.
Yeah, I mean it's. I mean, as a woman in general, anyways, I mean, working at the Capitol, I didn't feel safe with guys in suits. Like, it is what it is. You
have a long history of it.
Yeah.
I do. The story, I joke I could write a book, but I try to focus on the positive in my business and the good things and stuff out there, and not to dwell on the negative and stuff like that, but it always sits in the back of your mind and sits back there. And it changes you as a person. My parents put me in karate as a kid. Before I was a runner, I was Little Miss Karate, like Bruce Lee's sister is what they call me.
That's awesome.
And I still go by it.
Yeah. Still call me that.
They still call me
handle.
that. So I joke. I was like, this is the most deadly weapon I have on me here. You know, so if somebody comes at me, I have the instinct to protect myself and stuff. But I definitely have changed in the last 3-4 years, changed how I do things after never really worrying about it, thinking about it all those years prior.
There's a big movement in the running community for women running by themselves. Like the Runners Magazine, everybody, a lot of support for it, but you have to actually go in there and make some changes, each of the major cities. It's so crazy, the stories about the homeless people running after. Like, we're from Houston, and I hang out downtown a lot, and there's a lot of homeless people. I've never seen them.
But I was about to say, I don't have to worry about that.
As a man, you don't have to worry about it.
I don't.
You don't.
I heard someone talking earlier this week, like going into an elevator.
Yeah.
I don't. If I get into an elevator with another man, I don't think about it.
I do. You don't do it.
As a woman, you probably have to. Yeah.
I've worked downtown plenty throughout the course of my career and stuff like that. And this was probably 9-10 years ago. The parking garage of the building I worked at downtown, a homeless man attacked one of the ladies, like sent her to the hospital in the parking garage at, during the day work hours and stuff like that. And so I started checking my car, looking under my car. Like, I mean, it changes you, and it changes everything you do.
Yeah.
And it just stays with you.
Yeah, especially if you have an experience like you have, like someone actually did chase after you. It's it changes your whole outlook on life.
It does. And so as I mentioned, obviously I've been a runner for a long time. In college, I was a sub 5-minute miler. So I used to run really fast. Yes.
By the way, we're getting into that.
Yeah.
That's our next topic.
So I joked, people were like, oh, let's go running. I was like, oh, you can't keep up. You can't keep up. That was my line back. I used to be cocky back in the day.
I think you still are.
I am not that fast anymore. I have no goals with my running or anything these days. But because of what I ran by myself a lot. So I never did the group runs. I just did everything alone. And now it is my peace and my freedom to run alone. And the simple fact that you can't do that, and they tell women, oh, you should run with friends. I was like, no, I shouldn't have to run with friends. y'all should change your behavior and y'all should support us for what we do. Like, I shouldn't have to change what I do because of the rest of the world, but clearly you do have to.
That's scary, man.
It's sad because if things change, you'll still have that outlook for a long time.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And do you think, corporate America and government, do you think those slimy roles are getting better, like with all these movements like the women movement and racism?
I think all that stuff is fake.
Yeah.
I think those organizations are just, they're wanting to grab money and...
If you're on the inside of a lot of things, you see things differently than people from the outside. Mm-hmm. People from the outside, it's a show, just like anything else. Mm-hmm. You put on a show for your audience, for your base, everything else. So it's different on what it is and what people see.
I feel like it's a lot slower rate of change, probably like government, because we all live in our little bubbles, right?
Yes,
and
correct.
And we don't really see it at our company that we work for, but I've never worked for like the government or like those type of agencies, but I think it's heavily ingrained in those work structures, unfortunately still, because it's also how you get ahead in those structures too, right?
Which is why most women leave that kind of industry, and that's why most small businesses are women owned.
Wow.
Because we don't, I got sick and tired of that stuff. And I'm not a fighter, and I don't like confrontation, and I don't like any of that. I was working a job. Okay, the background's falling. Oh, I didn't clip it. That's why. So don't mind that. We're going to have a change of scenery here in just a second. Set change.
I like it, though.
Wow.
I like it.
Set change.
That's scary, Toby. Toby's eyes are big.
I usually have it clipped. I was actually another photographer who's in San Antonio area asked me about the setup, so I was doing a video earlier for him to explain things, and I forgot to reclip it back. I apologize.
No worries.
Probably make us look a little better. I don't know.
Yeah,
I know.
Make us look thinner. Make it look thinner.
Yeah.
It'll be all right. So, you're running. So you're a sponsor. You're your ambassador by Brooks.
I am a Brooks running ambassador. Run Happy Team for 2022. Yes.
That's crazy.
How long have you been that?
So it just started in January, so not very long. This is the first time for me to do it. However, I've been wearing Brooks running shoes since the early 2000s when they've been a company forever, but they switched their primary focus in the early 2000s to running. They niched down to running, and I have been in them since the beginning.
So I only know Brooks as a running shoe. What were they before?
They did like dance shoes. Apparently, they did it. They did all kinds of stuff.
Did you know that?
Yeah. So they have some really cool like retro shoes from the 80s and stuff like that, like lifestyle type shoes and stuff like that. Yeah. So they've been around forever, but they niched down to running in the early 2000s, and most people haven't been running. When I joke that I was a runner before running was cool. Like everybody, you meet a lot of runners these days. Back in the day, there weren't that many of us.
Yeah,
that's true.
Running has got that way. It's like this more about the gear and a lot of stretching and then taking a couple pictures and they end up running a quarter mile and run back to the car.
My problem is I don't take enough pictures because I run for freedom and to escape everything else. And so I have to consciously make an effort to take pictures to document things, which is, I'm all about learning and pushing myself in any way, right? I'm very traditional, very old school. I run alone. I do everything alone. And then I'm like, oh, I forgot to take a picture. So then I'll go back out
I've done that.
and stage the picture for it or whatever else. So there's a lot of staging.
Do you have a quota that you have to meet, like a certain amount of posts or anything for Brooks?
Yeah, I think I want to say it's 24 throughout the year. So,
that's not too bad.
No, it's not too bad or anything, and it's not like you've got to post this. Like they don't want you leaving a false review for something you don't love or believe in or anything like that. Like they're as a company, their company policy. I love the company that they are. They're very inclusive. Just a great company, and getting to know that about them from as being an ambassador and getting to sit with the teams and stuff like that and learn all this has made me love the company even more. But I would never make a fake post. I've got other running shoes given to me for free to test out and stuff like that, and I didn't like them. Not Brooks, and and so I didn't make a post because I didn't want to blast or whatever. But I'll leave the review like on the website. This was my issue with it or whatever. Like he wanted an honest post. Here's my honest post.
Just tearing into it, like just ripping them.
And you're, from what I can tell from our interview here, is you're a very honest person. So
Yes.
if you didn't like Brooks, I would think you would say it. And you give me feedback.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I'm a very honest person. I would never make a post about something that I didn't truly believe in myself.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've been buying Brooks out of my own pocket for 20 years.
Yeah.
So how do they approach you? I mean,
Pretty much any company these days has a apply to be whatever type thing. I'm a race ambassador for a local race because I've run it. I ran their very first year. I've run it, I think they just celebrated their 15th anniversary last year, and I've done more than half of them. I've done that many of them. It's a great race, and the race founder, I mean, his story is just an incredible story. And so I support them. I support the mission. I support the cause. As my business, I donate to some local a portion of all my sales every year. I donate back to local nonprofits, and that's one of the nonprofits I donate to.
What's the name of it?
The Gazelle Foundation.
The Gazelle Foundation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And so Gilbert, who founded it, survived genocide and basically being burned alive in his home country of Burundi.
Wow.
And made Texas his home. He lives here in Austin,
Oh,
co-chair. And so he, as his way of healing and giving back, as a kid, they didn't have water. He had to run miles, every morning to bring water for his mom and stuff like that for all the things in the house. And so the Gazelle Foundation and the Run for the Water provides access to clean drinking water for the people of Burundi. So they build wells and stuff like that and have a team on the ground there that builds and does all that. And
Awesome.
so the race, proceeds, benefits, and everything else and the stuff they do throughout the year and stuff like that goes back to that.
That's great.
That's so good.
And so I'm a running ambassador for them as well. And it's, again, one of those things in this day and age, everybody has ambassadors for everything until you apply and, certain questions and stuff like that. And so Brooks is a hard one to get into because it is a big company. So I was shocked when I got this because there's only 200 of us throughout the United States. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
There's only 200 of
Look
us.
at you.
Yeah,
That's really
I know.
great.
I know. So I was like, what? Huh?
But don't sell yourself short here. He tells me that you qualify for Boston.
No, I've never qualified for Boston, actually. I've never
so Josh
qualified.
gave me false information.
No, I've never qualified for
Damn,
Boston.
Josh.
I was fast back in the day.
Yeah.
I loved the mile. I did good at the mile. I suffered career-ending injuries in college.
What was it?
I had multiple stress fractures in both legs. I couldn't walk. I
Damn.
basically woke up one morning, got out of bed, and fell to the ground.
Holy
and
crap.
couldn't walk. And so I had to stop running and sit out for a long time to heal from that. Because when there are fractures, it's not, I didn't break anything, but I had multiple stress fractures in both legs at the same time and had to sit out, and it kind of ended my career. And it was probably one of the most depressing times in my life when you take something that you love, that you've been doing for so long, and you can't do it anymore. It takes a toll on you.
Yeah.
And I never wanted to be injured again with my running. So I joke that I've been running injury-free ever since. So I couldn't pound out the miles anymore. So I slowed down and picked up the mileage. And so, again, like I said, my first job out of college was working Texas Senate at the Capitol. When you work a legislative session in Texas, we're only in session 6 months every 2 years. And you're there 24/7. Like your life is dedicated to work and you don't see the light of day. And so when I had breaks from anything, I would go out and run, around the lake and stuff downtown. And so I just slowly started picking up the mileage and finally, decided to run. Everybody's running a marathon. Okay, I'll run a marathon. Everybody's doing this. I'll do this. And so in my mid-30s, because I was running so much, I just got faster just from all the running I did. And the whole competitive thing came back in, and I was placing at everything, and I was always getting awards.
Placing?
Yeah. I've placed races. I've got awards. I've been on stage. And all this stuff.
What you said faster? What's like?
I want to know.
Yeah. What's,
you
give me
know
some
we
time.
wanna know.
So I'm
Give me
a
some
way faster half marathon runner than I am a full marathon.
We know
runner.
the times.
So my half marathons are 1:35 to 1:40. That range or whatever.
That's good.
1:35.
Hour 35 to an hour 40 for half a marathon.
Golly. What is that? 6 something?
It's like 7 to 8 minutes.
It's got to be
in
low
there.
sevens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Keep going.
So I can hold that up for a half marathon. I cannot, for the life of me, hold that up for a full marathon, which is why I like that distance because it's challenging. If I'm not trained, I can go out and I hate saying this because I recognize how hard this is for some people and it's such a struggle for them. I have been doing this for so long. My body's trained. So everything I say, I don't want anybody to judge themselves on what I do. This is my story. This is nobody else's story. You're not less than because you're not doing what I'm doing. So it's hard for me to talk about this stuff because I used to openly get upset when I didn't place and didn't win. Yeah. And I got called out on social media for it in a productive way, not in a bad way, but I was upset. I was running the half marathon in Key West, and I'm surprised they let us run that day. There was a huge storm. All the races in mainland Florida got canceled that day. The island lost power, everything else. We were hanging out in a parking garage waiting to see if we'd start. It was pouring rain sideways, no power on the island. 40 minutes later, they got it back up and they said, we're running. I was like, we are? Sweet. I get to run this. And so I was looking again to place and everything else. And going out was easy. 40-mile-an-hour headwinds coming back in. It was an out and back course. They recorded video that morning, and they had to change the course because water was coming over on the southernmost tip or whatever where that is. You ran by that. We didn't run by it that morning because water was just like crashing over it and stuff like that. So they changed up the course for us, let us run it, going out, just booking it, the winds at your back. When I turned around to come back, that wind was just like brutal, and I'm not a very big person. I was like trying to hide behind the lead, the group I was in, and I just couldn't do it. So I ended up at like an hour 50 or something like that, and I was so upset. Like,
yeah, that's still really good.
I was so upset with myself and so down on myself, and I made a comment on social media, not as fast as I wanted to be, blah blah blah. And somebody made a comment and saying, you're not as fast as you want to be as somebody's, goal that they would never achieve. And I was like, yes, that's very true.
No, I disagree.
What do you mean?
I don't. There's a thing like of being sportsmanlike or whatever, but being hard on yourself for not wanting to meet your goals and things like that. I don't know. It's a bad thing now to be cocky or whatever about what
cocky.
You do.
That's not being cocky though.
Well, but you were just being hard on yourself.
I was being hard on myself, and I'm very hard on myself, right? And
what's the problem?
But when I heard his story, and he doesn't live in Texas, however, he's flown to Texas to work with me several times since this interaction. Yeah. He made a comment. I was like, oh, you're right. Okay. So when I learned his story, he went from 400 pounds to being a 100-mile ultra marathon finisher or ultra race finisher. Yeah. And so I recognize that for some people to make that first step is a struggle. Yeah. And it's hard for people. And I try to be respectful of everybody. I'm like, okay. And so that's why I now approach things different. I don't want which is why I preface with that too. I don't want my story and what I do. Yeah. Because I think a 7-minute mile is easy. How many people think it's easy? There aren't that many.
There's levels to life, and everybody's going to have their challenge. I'm not going to run but you got to know that, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
You're going to be limited, but you can have really good goals yourself that are just different from others. Well, I know I'm not going to ever, meet the Boston Marathon. Like I don't want to, but also I don't think I can, so you got to know that in your head. But I think it's really good that's why you're so good at photography and so good at running, and people have such good work ethics because they hold themselves to the fire on things. But
yeah, I'd almost say like what you like putting that out there is showing people, wow,
it's motivating to me.
Yeah, it's motivating, and like, oh, that's how I become successful. So I kind of see it.
Day in and day out and push yourself.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm on both
but that's
things.
how you get hurt.
That's true. Yeah.
I'm not 18, 19 years old anymore. Yeah. I'm 44. Like if I put that intensity every day into my training, I would not be able to continue doing this. And so I want to be running when I'm 90, 100 years old. Yeah. And so if I did that, I wouldn't be able to. Like the body cannot handle that.
Right.
Over and over again. So I can go out and run, 9-minute mile, 10-minute mile, easy pace, and keep going for the rest of my life. And I would much rather do that than be on a podium one time. Like, yeah, it makes no sense to me to be on a podium versus just maintaining this for the rest of my life. And I'm at the point now where I want to maintain my runner for life status. Yeah. And that's more important to me than anything. However, I came very close to qualifying for Boston without knowing it.
Isn't that the thing? I think that happens with a lot of people. Yeah. You get that bug, and then next thing you know, you just missed it by a couple of minutes.
That's exactly what it was. I was a couple of minutes shy, and I was like, oh, had I been like, I was just like enjoying it and just like out there running it and stuff like that. And I got to the end, and I was like, what? Seriously? Oh man, I should have paid attention.
How much did you miss it by?
Like 2 minutes, 3 minutes, something like that.
God, really? Were you kicking yourself?
I mean, I got over it really fast. Again, I don't like going back into that ultra competitive, it's not productive to beat up yourself.
Yeah.
At all. It's not productive. And so, no,
You don't think so? Not even a little bit?
I mean, I do it so much internally. Yeah, there's a balance. I do it so much internally. I don't need to like do it externally. Yeah.
Do you want to go ahead?
I was gonna get into that. I think we're similar. I'm like really anal about so when you put that watch on, that's like not good for you or me, because like I will look at these numbers and want to make go faster and things like that. And I stopped wearing the watch after a while because it's not fun anymore.
I don't look at it. I'm good at not looking at it. Yeah. I started running before you had computers on the wrist. Mine's more of a fashion statement. One of my running friends, when this watch came out, shared it with me, and she's like, hey, this looks like something you'd like. It's white and rose gold. If you go to my website right now, jamapantel.com, guess what my brand colors are? They're based off my running watch, guys.
Bling, bling.
I love that watch.
They are based off my running watch.
Yeah.
I wanted that watch, but I think it was a girl watch, and I was like,
clearly.
Yeah. So my brand, my current brand is based off of my running watch.
That's funny.
That's how much running is ingrained in my life.
Those are good colors, though.
Yeah, I love it. So one of my awesome badass runner friends, her brother works for Garmin, and so I like to keep up to date on the Garmin and what's going on with that.
Yeah. A little discount.
And stuff like that. Yeah, something like that too.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
We got so competitive, like running just, I don't know. I would post, my runs, because I was training for a marathon, and I was like, I got into 8s, I got into the 7s, I got into like the high 6s, and my posts become like I was trying to beat every post I would do. So I was like, I would have like 7:45s across the board, and then like one run I just wasn't feeling it, or the humidity kicked in, and I was like, I don't want to post this, but I'd post it like accountability posts there for a while. But as I ran the marathon, and then I got him and my buddy into it, he started getting fast. And then he started running like the 7:20s, and he threw up 8 miles at like 7:20 pace. And I was like, I was out at this point. I wasn't doing training anymore. And I remember there's so much pressure. I went out, I like ate right. I woke up.
Oh, you're good. Is that mine or yours?
Yeah, that's yours. That's not mine.
Can you just mute that one? That's right by the computer. But we got so competitive that I went out one morning, like I got good sleep, and I ate right, and then I like let my stomach settle, went out, I was in perfect conditions, and I ran the first 4, and I was nowhere in range, and I just stopped, and I deleted it on my phone.
God damn.
And I never told John, and I was like,
hey, dude, it breaks my heart a little bit.
yeah, and I was like, I couldn't do it, because I was just not where I used to be. And he was training a lot more, and then he just so there's a lot of pressure, right? So like before it could hit Garmin, I was like, delete this thing.
Yeah. And I know that I have that in me, and so I try to avoid it. Like most of the time, I'm not sitting here staring at my watch or anything like that. I'm so consistent in it. I've been doing it for so long that even without a watch, my pace is going to be the same. I can tell you where I'm going to come in 9 times out of 10, like what I'm going to come in at.
Yeah.
No.
And it's, consistent across the board and stuff like that. Every once in a while, I'll surprise myself and be like, oh, okay, well, I surpassed that. But I mean, when I started running, you didn't have computers on your wrist and any of that stuff. So my first marathon, I mean, I ran around a outdoor track because it was marked, so I knew how much I was getting in my training miles because these watches didn't exist. Yeah, these watches didn't exist. So train different ways and stuff.
They're definitely
like
helpful now.
They are so much helpful, and that's why I like it, because I can go out and run. I was like, okay, 7 miles done, like or whatever. Not for the time, just to let me know how much I've done, and like I don't need to overdo it or whatever.
Yeah.
Yep.
How do you stay healthy? Like, do you stretch?
No.
Nothing?
Nothing.
That's how you stay healthy.
That's how you stay healthy. You do nothing. So I have been, again, running for so long. When you're a kid, you bounce back way quicker than an adult. But those habits as a kid, they stick with you when you're old. So I am a horrible stretcher. I'm a horrible everything.
Yeah.
And so I have to force myself to do things properly these days because I am not as young as I used to be. I still do not stretch before a run. Actually, funny story. So I run the Kauai Marathon a lot. I've done that race more than any other marathon. It's a very difficult race. It's got over a 2,500-foot elevation gain throughout the course of the 26 miles.
Dang.
It's pretty much mostly uphill. And they always have somebody out there doing fun stretches in the morning. I did the stretches with the fun stretch along one morning. When I finished, I was like, why am I so sore? It's not from running 26.2 miles. It's from stretching for 5 minutes before the race.
No way.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I was like, all right, no more stretching for me.
Do you believe in stretching, though?
Absolutely.
There's sides. There's some people that don't think stretching helps, and there's some that do.
It does. I personally think it helps. I just...
Before or after, though?
I do it after.
Do you?
Because I don't take the time to do it before.
Do you believe in before?
Do what?
Do you believe in before, though?
I think it would help. I totally think it would help. Both of them would. No. Like in high school for track meets or in college for practice and everything, they line you up. I mean, you've seen football, baseball, everything. They're out there stretching as a team before. So when you're in these organized sports, as I was young, yes, we did it properly before everything. I was always one of those who was a little extra and did a lot of stuff on my own. And so in college, we would practice at 6:30 and then again at 3 o'clock. I forget, whatever. Morning and afternoon were practice times. I was still in the gym running or lifting every evening too because I enjoyed that. Like it just became my routine. And so I did everything properly and stuff like that. When you get into real life and adult life and you're working full-time, running a business full-time, living life full-time, you don't have these structured set times where you do these things and you go out and get a run when you can. And it's between meetings or, between Zooms these days and stuff like that. Oh, I've got an hour between two Zoom appointments. Let me go out and get a run in real quick, go out and run, get back in, sit down. You don't stretch. And then I pay the price in the old age and stuff like that. And I feel it. So I can tell a difference from when I stretch and I don't stretch. I can run back-to-back longer distances if I do things properly versus if I just go out, do it real quick, come back in, sit down, and don't do anything. Yeah. So it makes a difference in my opinion.
What type of – so I want to get into specifics. What type of stretching do you do? Because I'm battling energy. I want to know for selfish reasons because Mike got me into running and then I have obsessive compulsive. I obsess over it, and then I started running too much, and then I got into the carbon base plate shoes.
Oh yeah,
that sock anymore, and I think that like completely fucked up my foot. So I'm dealing with plantar, but then I'm like, I got some knee stuff going on too. So what do you suggest for stretching after? Like, is there anything specific that you do?
Just whatever feels good. So my number one thing that makes you feel better. Put your butt up against the wall and put your legs straight up and sit like that for 15 minutes and let all that blood rush out. Ice bath would do the same thing. I hate being cold. I am more inclined to go run when it's 100 degrees and 100% humidity outside than I am when it's 30 degrees. Like I want to sit in my pajamas under a blanket all day when it's cold. But when it's warm, I will go out and do everything as much as I complain about that too because it's hot and humid and miserable. Put yourself in an ice bath.
Yeah.
That'll cure most of your problems right there.
Damn.
I mean, a lot of people are doing it now. I'm surprised you hadn't got into it already.
No, not yet.
So I always joked if I had more time on my hands, I'd do an ultra. And I've done ultras here and there. My first ultra was actually pacing somebody for a marathon in Houston, and he was running so slow that I would run out, run back to keep myself entertained. I was running backwards sometimes, so by the time I finished the course, I was closer to, the 30 miles because I'd run out and back so much and stuff like that. So that was probably my first ultra, but I don't necessarily count it.
You count it.
Yeah. I was like, when I think about it and they ask I was like, well, it was probably then. But I've got friends who do these crazy 100-mile ultras. I have no desire to do those, but I pace them. I'll go out and pace them for them. I paced them in Leadville, Colorado. I paced them here in Texas.
How's Leadville?
Crazy.
It's like crazy elevation.
Crazy elevation, and it is hard for us sea dwellers like us from Texas and stuff like that. I had the worst headache in my life after doing like 20 miles through the Rockies and stuff like that. Like it was miserable, but I got my runner to the finish line. Like that's the goal of it and stuff like that. It's not you, it's for your runner. Yeah. Like you sacrifice everything for your runner. Right. And so I would push through for any of my runners if I had to get them across the finish line or get them where they need to be. That's awesome. That's what you do.
Did that kill you? Did you get on some of the high ascends?
No, I don't think so.
You had to. I think the whole course.
The whole course.
Yeah.
So Leadville, if people don't know, is the highest incorporated city in America. It's over 10,000. The base of Leadville, the city of Leadville, is at 10,200 feet. So if you run the course, you're higher than that, right?
So you run. It's like a 50-mile. Like you run one way and then you run back, right?
I believe so. I believe it's an out and back course and stuff like that. And so I've only done I've always been the finish line pacer, I guess, if you will. So I've only done that. I have not gone up like Hope Pass and all that stuff. I haven't done that. So on these races, to have a pacer, you can only have them on the back 50 miles. You have to be able to finish the first 50 miles under time by yourself before you can bring on pacers with you. Wow. And so the pacers only do the back 50 miles, once you get to that aid station or whatever, and can start picking up your pacers and everything. And so I've only done the second half of that half, like to the finish line person. Right. So yeah, the finish line person.
So you have no interest in want to do one?
No, not absolutely not.
I thought you would.
I figured she would too.
No, I did my first on my own during lockdown when I joked I'd have so much time on my hands. So I signed up to run the Paris Marathon in 2019, the day it opened up to run 2020. So I was deep into my marathon training for my little sister lives in Paris, and so I was going to go visit her and run the Paris Marathon. And so in 2020, before the world shut down, I was deep in training and stuff like that. And so I was back to my under 2 hour halves and stuff like that. And I was on par to do everything again. I'd been training properly again, finally. And the day before, 2 days before the Austin Marathon, I signed up to run it as a long training run. And so I got my marathon in. And then 3 weeks later, the world shut down and postponed my marathon and everything else. But I was already in shape. So I did my first ever streaking where you run every single day. I did that for 100 days. I had nothing better to do with my time other than record educational photography videos and run and take pictures of random things out on runs and stuff like that. So I did my first ultra, the Yeti 24-hour ultra and stuff like that. And I did a lot of ice baths throughout that 24-hour period.
Oh, so you got experience with them, huh?
Yeah. So I did a lot of ice baths between all the different legs, so I could keep going and stuff like that without issues. But if you sit in an ice bath for 5 minutes, you're
golden.
You're golden.
There's a lot to it.
Start doing it though.
Yeah, I thought with the ultras because when you get older, you can still do it. There's a lot of studies saying the best people are the older people, and on top of that, women.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Women kill the ultra sport. Yeah.
We can endure so much more pain than guys can.
Yeah.
That blew my mind too. I mean, I never thought about it, but Courtney DeWalter and a few others, they're just killing the sport. They're beating men.
My friend kills it. She's incredible. Yeah. She did a 250 miler last summer, I think it was.
Was that Moab?
No, she I forget which one it was. It was in Arizona somewhere, I believe.
The Bigfoot or whatever.
Moab.
What's her name? What's your friend's name?
Becky. Yeah, she's based out of Colorado and stuff like that. So she kills it when she goes to Hawaii with us and has no elevation. They do so. Those people who train up in the mountains, when they come to sea level with the rest of us, they are incredible. They're incredible beasts.
That's why they moved there. Is she from Boulder?
She's from there. She didn't move there to run or anything like that. But
who's the marathon girl we had on? Alyssa. She ran the most consecutive marathons ever.
Yeah.
God, what's her name? Alyssa something.
I don't know. You put me on the spot, but
she's an ultra. She's an ultra runner.
How many marathons did she run?
Gosh, I think it was
95.
95 marathons back to back.
Oh my goodness!
Whenever COVID started, and she holds the world record for women.
That's crazy.
But
that's insane. I've only run 17.
She's crazy though. And then it's women, and women have the ability, this crazy ability to run that.
Well, that's what I tell younger runners and stuff like that who get so down on themselves, and then they're shocked that women are breaking these records at 37, 38. All my records come from 37, 38.
Wow.
Yeah, that's where all my records came in.
I think that's really the prime age.
I think it is too.
It was mistaken, the 20s.
That it's the 20s and stuff like that. It's not. All of my records when I was running 7-minute miles for 13.1 miles, those were all 37, 38 years old.
Wow. What's the name of that book that we read?
Born to Run.
Born to Run. Have you read that book?
I haven't read it yet.
Dang it.
Come on.
But they talk about how the older people, I forget what's the name of the tribe, but they talk about how
I know the story. Yeah, I know the book. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, that's crazy. The older people just killed it on the races.
Yeah. I've been lucky in my running career that I've been able to run with some of the people and stuff like that. Like Bart Yasso was one of the. Oh, wow. He goes and runs the Kauai Marathon. He's the MC for the Kauai Marathon, and so when we place, he's the one who calls inside joke. I was like, nobody butchers my name quite like Bart Yasso. That's funny. but Bart Yasso and I follow each other on social media, and everyone's like, you know Bart Yasso. I was like, yeah, me and Bart go way back. But he does remember me actually because I've been out there to run it enough. But as small as that race is, which is why I like it, only a couple hundred people run the full. And you don't have a crowd around you, which is what I like. I don't like Houston in the corral and all of this stuff. Like,
it's a good one though. We have a good marathon here.
Oh, we have a lot of good marathons here. Houston's flat, but there's too many people. I don't like that. Austin, still too many people, but it's a challenge. Austin's a challenging course.
Yeah.
San Antonio adjusted the time of year they did theirs. They used to do it earlier, and people would like dying and stuff like that. So they moved it. So most of the Texas races are during the winter season and stuff like that. Versus Kauai is Labor Day. It's usually hot and humid for that race and stuff like that. So you train all summer long through the Texas heat, and then get over there and like sweat to death
coming down
2,500 vertical and stuff like that. But Dean has also been out there to run that race, and so I've I can't ever say his last name, the ultra marathon man. So I've run shakeout run with him and got to pick his brain and stuff. That's like awesome. That
shakeout run, she got all the terms.
I know. She knows.
I used to listen to that morning shakeout podcast.
And so that race has brought out a lot of like well-known runners, and so I always like pick their brains. I was like, I'm not as cool as any of y'all, I never will be, but let me ask you this question. Like, how are you this crazy? Like, how are you this crazy? Like, there's an ultra marathon runner who he won, what's it called, Pikes Peak in Colorado, where he won that, turned back around, went to Leadville, and I think he placed second in Leadville or something like that, like 2 days in a row. I was like, how is it humanly possible to do something like that? Wow. It's mind-boggling to me. And so I stepped out of my hotel in Kauai, and there he was talking about Yasso, and I was like, oh, I was in Leadville 2 months ago when you did what you did. How? And Bart's like, oh, he's crazy. I was like, I'm impressed by it. Like,
that's like the Iron Cowboy. He did an ultra marathon in every state back to back.
No, that's
that
Ironman.
An Ironman. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, no. Bart Yasso, he was an Olympic marathoner way back in the day. He's like the mayor of running is what they call him. He worked for, so he's got his own book and his own story and stuff like that. But he has been a runner forever and ever and ever. But he's retired from Runner's World magazine, but he still goes out and does a lot of the races.
Still
and
lives
stuff
in
like
it.
that. Yeah. Cool. Still lives in that and everything else. But one of the training things for marathons is called the Yasso 800s. Obviously, he invented that. Yeah.
Those are hard too.
So I don't do any of those. So I'm an improper. I don't train properly. I never have. I'm able to do things on pure grit, and that's how I've always done everything. I don't do fartleks. I don't do I don't do anything properly at all. I was just able to pound out things if I needed to.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
The Yasso is a good way to determine what your time will be, right?
Yep, that's exactly what it is, to determine your marathon pace and stuff like that. And I don't buy into that, because if I determined my marathon pace based on my half marathon, I would have qualified for Boston a long time ago.
Sucker.
There's
getting you.
There's some trickery in there, but yeah.
Also, I'm not that committed to it. Like, I do it. I enjoy running. I run for fun. I don't run to win races. It just happened to be a byproduct of certain things. Like, I've won a turkey trot before, and they actually had a podium. I was like, what? Oh, I'm getting up on that podium. Like, it was only for a 10K. Like, and I use only 10K. I'm a true distance runner for saying something like that. If you only run 10Ks, I'm proud of you. If you only run 5Ks, I'm proud of you. Everybody's a runner in my book, from, a block to an ultra. You're still a runner in my book, and will cheer on all of y'all. But I won a 10K turkey trot one time. I was like, I'm gonna stand on the
hold the medal.
Hold that medal, hold that trophy.
Oh my God.
On top of that podium. I'm going to wait, and I'm going to go up there, and I'm going to hold my trophy on top of that podium and smile proudly and take my picture.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Own it.
You got me with that one.
Yeah.
I suppose I can make that noise that good. I don't think I've ever done it.
So if anything else in life fails, you can always be a turkey impersonator.
Yeah, I'll go to those races for the winners.
Just get on the mic and start making your turkey noise. Come on, no.
Come on.
That was really good.
Even that has nothing to do with the sound.
I know.
It's all for show.
Well, Jama, we had a blast. It was fun.
Thank you.
How can so for everyone listening in the Austin area or Texas in general, how can they find you on social media? Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, all that good stuff.
So I'm on there. I have a weird name. Nobody has my name. Jama Pantel. So everything's my name.
So are you on all the social media platforms?
Just about, but
Yeah.
I couldn't say I'm active on all of them.
Are you on TikTok too? You
No.
talked about it.
No, I don't understand TikTok. Like, I can.
We don't either.
Yeah, I don't understand TikTok. I'm not on TikTok.
We're
but-
addicted to it, but we don't understand it.
So I started recording YouTube videos in lockdown because I had to get out of my shell, and I was like, my business is never gonna last in lockdown if I don't put myself out there, and that was for me when I started putting myself out there, recording videos, recording training. People were like, you know how to do that? I'm like, yes, I've been doing this for 20 years, even though I know nobody knows that I have because I don't say it and I don't put it out there. So I started recording like educational and lighting videos. How to light yourself properly for Zoom was one of my early
have to watch that
popular ones and
That's
stuff like that.
awesome.
So those are on YouTube. I am actually teaching in person a posing class at the Georgetown Photography Festival through Happiness Hour, which one of my friends put together during lockdown as a way for people to get together and educate and inspire and stuff like that during lockdown. And so she started this Wednesday night happiness hour thing with a different instructor on every. She just celebrated her 100th episode last week.
Oh.
It was 101 last night. But I was her very first instructor on there, and it was how to light properly for Zoom and stuff like that. And then I went and taught how to pose properly for. I think we were still in lockdown during this, and people were, if you need your own headshot, because you're still marketing yourself during lockdown,
Right.
how to pose yourself and angle yourself properly and stuff like that. And so I've always been the people person on there and stuff like that. So at the Georgetown Photography Festival, I think it's next weekend, I'll be teaching a posing class, a live posing class there and stuff
That's
like
awesome.
that.
That's awesome.
So.
They're very timely too. That's smart. All that.
Absolutely.
All that pandemic education.
The Zoom lighting
Yeah.
one's good.
Good.
Well, thank you, Jama. We had
Thank
a
you, guys.
blast, and we'll stay in touch.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Bye.